Liner Notes. My name is David Bixler.
10 years after his release Flip Flop, John Yao returns with Points of Time, a new recording that showcases his significant growth as both a composer and improviser. The album draws inspiration from deeply personal experiences, specifically his wife's battle with cancer and the subsequent birth of their son after her recovery. Yao has brought together an exceptional group of some of New York City's top musicians who not only perform his intricate compositions flawlessly, but also contribute highly individualized and compelling solos to the project. John, good morning. Welcome to Liner Notes. We are here to talk about and celebrate your new recording with your, tongue-in-cheekly named John Yao's 17-piece instrument. Welcome, man. Good to see you. Good to hear the record.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Out July 11th, and Sea Tower Recordings, that's your own label?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I've been putting some music out there for a couple of years now.
Okay, cool. So this is your first recording with this band after, I'm reading, a 10-year hiatus. Flip Flop was the first recording. I also read that some of the music is, culled from life experiences. It seems like you had a lot on your
Sure.
plate that I was not aware of. It's not always stuff that we wave a flag around in life, but we're dealing with it. So, 10 years. What was the impetus to start the band in the first place?
Ooh, good question. I think, wow, I don't know how far back I should go. What do you think? I, like many people, always played in big bands and always enjoyed playing in them. As a trombone player, you're in the middle, so you can hear every part. And I think that there's something to that. There's a lot of trombone players, as big band arrangers, as you know. And so, yeah, I ended up going out with Glenn Miller Orchestra after college, which is, you're an IU grad too,
Yeah.
right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Yeah. So I finished at Indiana, and then I was doing some copy work as well as playing for the band. And I just was really getting into seeing the music come together on paper and then hearing it. And I just kind of got the bug then and kind of would come back and forth to it and be like, I really want to do this. And then I was like, this is crazy. What am I doing? I still have that thought now. So nothing has changed, but then I came to New York and wanted to study and learn more about, composing, arranging and trombone and stuff. And fortunate to hook up with Michael Mossman and Luis Bonilla and get a chance to sub at the Vanguard and then play with all these different bands in town and, including Aljo. I think we played a handful of times with Arturo, I'm sure. So just kind of got the bug about it and just was finally got the nerve to put together some, a rehearsal with a friend of mine. We kind of co-led a band. And then, once I heard the music I'd been working on, actually I wrote a bunch of music for Bonilla. And then once I heard them play live, I was just like, whoa, I couldn't, I was just sort of I don't know, I guess for lack of a better word, kind of high off of the experience of hearing it. And then at that point, it was game over. So yeah, just really always. And then over the years, I've just kind of come to realize that the satisfaction of hearing and seeing other players enjoy playing the music and talking to them about it and getting their feedback and them telling me this part really, feels really good, or this is really fun. Your music's fun to play, or we enjoy playing it. That sort of stuff always just makes me feel great. And to have the opportunity to do that is awesome. And for a long time it was I want to play a great solo and all these things. And now it's become, I feel like it's kind of become less about me and more about the group and the music and the whole ensemble. And, just sort of shifting that focus has been something that's happened over many, many years, but it's kind of come full circle in a way.
How do you feel that the music changed from Flip Flop to Points in Time?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think my writing process is evolved. It's gotten like streamlined. It's still not, I'm not Michael Mossman. I can't sit down and write a chart in an hour. I wish. Not many can.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's part of it, and then I think some of the musical tastes and just like my, harmonic and rhythmic and melodic vocabulary in terms of arranging stuff is just sort of evolved. But there's still a lot of things that I did in Flip Flop that I feel like were little seeds of things, and like because there's a lot of different. That album has a lot of different types of songs on it, and so like there are kind of all these different pathways in different directions. So I've kind of been slowly going down each one of those paths a little further over the years with composition. So that was kind of like the starter. I don't know if you will.
Mm-hmm. All right. And on this recording, you have some reworkings of tunes that you did in a small group setting. So what was the criteria that gave you the idea that, well, I'd like to expand this for 17 people?
Right. Yeah, I thought, I think what I was doing over the years between Flip Flop and Points in Time was a lot of arranging other people's music. I did many things for Luis Bonilla, many things for other friends like Vitaly Golovnev, great trumpet player from Russia, my friend John Robigon, just like, and all sorts of arrangements for high school ensembles, the Herbie Hancock tune, Figure Painting's one of those. And so I think just like taking other people's music and turning them into big band charts kind of sparked this idea of like, well, man, I should do that with some of my tunes. And then I started looking back through the albums that I've done over the years, and I thought, oh, if I could do one from each album, that'd be really great. I only managed to get two.
Okay.
Which is, I was like, that's good enough. Well, I was just like, this would take forever. So picked two. One was from the Triceratops album, and I just Triceratops Blues. First one we did, and I just kind of wanted to develop some of the material a little further and kind of expand on that a little bit more than the small group tunes. And that's really what the impetus was like, well, this tune could be a really nice big band chart if I had more time to work with it, and then to dive deeper and explore more and expand certain things. So like Not Even Close is the other one where I took kind of a page out of Thad Jones' Little Pixie, and had the brass versus the saxes kind of trading phrases back and forth, and just like really featuring the band, and it just made me think about that first off, like how hard that that solo is, especially for third trombone, and just how much fun it is to play. More importantly, just like how having that interaction between the sections, and and then passing out of the rhythm section before more solos happen, and just like that, I don't know, that always just such a satisfying feeling. So I thought like it'd be really great to do that on this tune. So just the little ideas like that kind of came along the way of how I could expand and sort of reimagine some of these small group tunes into big band charts.
All right. Mission accomplished with Not Even Close. I listened to the music before I read about it, and I immediately made that connection. So that was
Cool.
There was cool in your homage to.
I mean,
What can you say
oh,
about
it's like,
that?
it's the best. Why not?
Right. Yeah. Let me ask you about Upside and finger painting. They were written for student ensembles. Are these the same versions that you put before this killing band?
The versions that we ended up recording are sort of updated. Yeah, I did sort of, in my own kind of ignoring my own words that I tell the students was like, try not to revisit old works, just like move on because this is can of worms. Like, of course, chose to ignore my own wisdom, if you will, but I just couldn't help myself. So, but yeah, there were certain things I felt like, I want to make this, update this and maybe, go a little further on this. And then I think, with the student band, I was always trying to be cognizant of, like limitations of things that I wanted to stay within certain ranges and make things certain, maybe not so independent and just things that could make it a little friendlier for them to play and then when it came time to work on it, for my band, I just kind of like took away some of those guide rails and sort of like went after it. So, they're still the same at the core of the same chart. Finger painting is pretty much the same, but Upside is definitely more updated or ramped up, if you will, for the 17-piece band.
All right. And, talk about the band. It sounds great. It was interesting. I had a friend in town who's a conductor and, does things as a conductor and, orchestra conductor. And, his comment was, man, they're really in tune. I really appreciate that.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it's super well executed because it seems like it's complex. And, I had never thought about it, but it makes complete sense. Like going back to you saying, sit in the middle of the band. As there's a lot of, elements to your music, counterpoint, both rhythmic and, I think melodic lines going on there. And, it kind of makes sense from that vantage point. You're going to process this information over, as long as you've been starting with Glenn Miller. Probably wasn't a whole lot of counterpoint on that gig, but, I'm sure there's some, you still get an idea, like that stuff was well written, right? And, that,
Yeah. No, I mean, it feels good. Like that's the other part of it. It's just like having it feel good to play. And that's, I don't know, to me, that's the ultimate compliment. Some of this is like, man, it feels good to play your music. Like that's, I couldn't ask for anything better. Yeah.
Yeah. I do this. You said you went to Queens College. You probably worked with Dennis McCrell. I do this camp every year with Dennis, and sometimes we have to play some older tunes. And one time I was kind of whining about having to play Little Brown Jug, and he looked at me and started singing and said, "Man, that tune's swinging." And I thought, bro, you're right, man. I was, corrected. And speaking of swinging, man, like I didn't pick up that Andy Watson was the drummer on this, but he sounds great on there. Some of the saxophonists identified right away that I'm, iconic sound of, Rich Perry, and I suspected it was Armacost. I did not know the second alto player. I think he takes his solo on the first or second track. I can't remember what it was, and he sounds great. What's his name?
His name's Hashem Asadolahi.
Okay.
And yeah, he's a great player. Kind of, I got a chance to play with him with a couple different groups, and it's just he was fortunate enough to have him to play, and he always plays beautifully, and like checking out the music. And he's been in town for a while. Originally from Texas, but I think he went to school in Oregon, and it's been here at least 10 years, probably more. Excellent player, really nice, super nice person.
Cool. Like with this many strong soloists, when you're writing the charts, do you think, this is for Rich Perry, this is for Dave Smith? Like,
yeah, I do definitely, and that's like a luxury. It's like having gee, do I want to should I take out the Ferrari for a drive or the Maserati? It's like you can't lose. I'm part of it. The thought is always like, I would love to hear how this person would sound in this environment. I was talking with my engineer and some other people about Rich playing on a song for Nolan, which is like pretty super straightforward, straight ahead kind of tune. And Evan was sort of commenting, was like, it's really nice to hear play like some changes instead of just playing some like kind of, well, she ends up a lot of times will end up playing these free out kind of crazy things, which he's also so good at navigating. So yeah, that was one of those moments where I was like, I'd love to just hear his sound on this tune. And then Dave Smith too, of course, just he can just like play anything pretty much. And Armacost, just like both those guys in the session, just like on Upside, just like every tape, just like great solos. It was like, God, this is gonna be really hard to pick like which one of these is like the one to use, because they're all so great. And yeah, just like all those players, just so super spoiled. I mean, to be in New York, and that's why we're here, is to get a chance to work with those types of players, so, and, they all just bring so much to the table as soloists and ensemble players. And it's a real like joy to get a chance to like have that person's sound in your head and then imagine, or create a platform or template for them to improvise on. And that's always like really exciting when that's sort of in the works, and then to hear it's like, oh my God, that was exceed what I could ever imagine they would do.
I want to read a quote from the notes attributed to you. So much of what's happened over the last 20 years has definitely sparked different emotions that I've wanted to express in my music. Sometimes those experiences and complex emotions take time to marinate, but ultimately they find their way into my writing and playing in a way that's something like osmosis. So, very personal, and, you can go as far as you want to with this, but your wife, Natalie, suffered and survived cancer. And you celebrate the birth of a son in this music. So maybe, talk about, there's so many great players, sometimes I think if any of us walked away, people would think, I don't know why they stopped playing, but, jazz goes on, right? For me, as a listener, much more so, I think, after time, it's these kind of things that, okay, this is what makes this music unique. And so, if you can, if you're capable of articulating this, like, how did this inform the music on this recording?
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, I know I'm not the only one that has like used their personal experiences as a way to like inspire their music. And so that's part of it. And another part of it is just sort of like, my wife was going through treatment, wrote a bunch of music, and this Early Morning Walk was one of them. It's just really like sort of a escape, like a little like a coping mechanism, a way to like kind of deal with all these emotions that were coming up, and it's kind of didn't have. I don't know, when we're going through something like that, like you learn a lot about yourself. You learn about a lot about friends and family, like some people you think are going to step up, don't, and some people you think that you aren't that close with, like are right there with you through the whole journey. And you're like, wow, I'd never expect that person to be like, there for me. And so you're trying to cope with all these things. And so the other means of sort of coping with it was writing this music for Early Morning Walk. And then of course, Song for Nolan was just like this amazing joy of the opportunity that we were afforded to bring him into this world. He was, I detailed a lot of this in a blog, but for the It's Jack, which will come out in a little while. But as far as Early Morning Walk, we, that was meant to be. So my wife remembers this moment where she really wanted to take this long walk. She's not feeling great, but she's like, I got to get some fresh air. It's early in the morning. And I'm like, okay, let's go. She remembers this walk vividly, and she never remembers anything. So even before chemo, which is something that takes away your, your memory. So like, and I've told this story many times and bombed on this joke, but anyhow, I'm gonna double down and tell it here. So I remember I don't remember a single moment of this walk, but she does. So I wrote the song. It was like, okay, this is like my musical like recollection or depiction of what this walk would have been like for her, and so that's how that one came to be. And Song for Nolan, yeah, we went through, many years later, we decided to explore having a family, go through several rounds of IVF. We have 3 embryos we're left to work with, and he's the third one. The first 2 didn't take, and he was like our Hail Mary. So when that worked out, and he, turned out to be, he's turned out to be amazing, and like no issues, medically, thank God, and so that was like, that's where that like sort of like overjoyed sort of feeling comes from, because it was like, this was the last opportunity we had to sort of, to have a child of our own. There's always other options to explore, but that was, a really special moment. So that's all those emotions kind of got channeled into that song.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. You mentioned before your students. Tell us about how does teaching play into your life? You are, I think I read that you're at Berkeley, and is that correct? Yeah, and Queens College.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm kind of at a couple different places. I also teach at Malloy University, a couple trombone students at Queens. And then, was doing some trombone stuff, teaching up at Berkeley, but haven't been going up there recently. Just haven't had enough students, but maybe this semester we'll see in the fall. But I also have a number of students online that I teach that are like jazz arranging students some of them are college students. And a lot of them are just sort of adults that are sort of hobbyists, or they just want to, or, professional musicians that want to learn more about, jazz arranging and composition. And, those students are like, yeah, those are like my like kind of my pride and joy. I have one student I've had a student online in Japan for 8 years,
No, arranging
which is
student.
insane. Yeah.
Wow.
And, and he's just like, he's so into it, and it's awesome, and, so yeah, I just, in terms of like, every time I have a lesson with them, I learn something about myself as I'm explaining things to them. So yeah, I think there's you've experienced it. It's like this sort of like give and take, when you have to go through and explain something to someone, you start to like come to a realization about certain things that you do, or your process, or, things that you should be keeping in mind of yourself as you're, blurting it out to somebody else. I'm like, I should do more of that, like, so there's always that. So, or maybe I shouldn't do that because I'm seeing this example happening here. Like, and, so just things, it's just been such a great learning process getting to work with those students and all the students, but particularly those reading students, just because I learned just as much about myself, as they learned from me. I always feel like it's this two-way street.
Mm-hmm. Exciting news that I read that you are a recent Guggenheim Fellow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And
thank you very much.
What is that going to entail for you? Another big band album, or orchestra, or
well, I was joking with Louise.
Your
Like,
opera.
yeah, I got yeah, right. Louise is like, well, so when we recorded Points in Time, we actually did 3 days and we did 2 albums. So Points in Time is the first one and the second one is like in the works. So, Bonnie and we're joking. He's like, oh, you already spent the money, right? Like, it's gone.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
No, not yet. So yeah, the project I propose is something I'm gonna see through and start working on in the fall. Really excited about. It's called Let's Make Some Noise, and it's meant to be an immersive, interactive concert experience with the audience. So the audience participates in the music making with the band, with the 17-piece big band, and it's meant to sort of like break the third wall, educate people about large ensemble music and jazz in general. I'm sure you've had this, like, people will come up to me and be like, wow, I really loved that sax solo you wrote, and the trombone solo you wrote was great. And I'm like, well, okay, I didn't write that part. I wish you could take credit for that. But so like became clear to me after many conversations like that there was like audience members weren't always totally clear when things went off the page, and so I started to like really think like, oh, really cool to like somehow give them an inside look, under the hood, if you will, and see what's going on. And so they may appreciate it deeper. And then I thought, maybe they could even like participate with it in some form of like, they're clapping, singing, or maybe giving them some percussion or something, and dividing up pairing them with different parts of the big band and whatnot. So that sort of sparked this whole idea, which, I have to see it through. That I came up with it. I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool. And now someone's like calling my bluff. So
Do you have a venue for this?
I have not yet. I'm in talks with a few places. I might be doing some workshops out at Queens College and doing like a residency there over the next school year, but that's still kind of in the works. And then potentially at Culture Lab, and I definitely I'm going to start exploring it. I've been playing once a month at Terraza on Mondays. They have different big bands once a month. So, and that's kind of a cool setup because there's a little rehearsal set before, and then we play the set, we take a break, and then we play an hour with the same music. So I think that's sort of really tailor-made for me to and it's a really small, intimate setting. It's tailor-made for me to bring the audience into the fold and kind of involve them in a way that, hopefully they enjoy it, they learn something, and, come back.
Okay. So, other than Terrassa, do you have, I saw that you just were out at Culture Lab. Do you have other performances, concerts? Are you trying to take this band down the road? Good luck.
Oof, wow. I think I just had a stroke there. Uh, Thinking about that. I don't know that I'm ready to do the road thing. I would love to if somehow like, it was feasible. I don't know if I see that. I think we'll be playing at Terraza, for the next couple of months, hopefully longer. So that's really great. I think, once a month is like plenty for me at the time. And maybe some more shows, hopefully some more residencies and some more like college things, but nothing in the works just yet to announce. But really excited just to get a chance to play once a month with the band. Like honestly, like we played the other night at Culture Lab, and we've done a few times at Terraza beforehand. It's like, yeah, the band, the music's like really just like coming together. It's I was joking with a friend, like, wow, like what a novel concept. You play the music a bunch and it gets to another level. It's like, it's just so hard to do with a big band. Like it's like you usually play like, rehearsal, you play the gig, and then maybe you play 6 months later. But to do it like once a month, the guys have the music in their head and they're getting like comfortable, familiar with it. We start taking some chances, and that's when it's like the good stuff starts to come out. So I'm just happy to have the opportunity to do that right now.
Yeah, that's cool. Other than the big band, are you still making time for your small group things?
No.
Okay. All right.
Gotta be honest, I could only do one thing at a time. I hope to revisit the Triceratops thing. I'd love to do that and add maybe 1 or 2 more horns, so then it becomes 4 or even maybe 5 horns with bass and drums, and sort of explore that idea of not having a chordal player. And that was a lot of fun. That project was like, really hard. Like writing for 3 horns, as is like the hardest thing to do. And then you take away the piano or guitar, and it's like, wow, like what did I just backed myself into this corner. But it was a great challenge. And so like to add a few more horns, it would be nice to be able to like bring some more colors in and some more textures and fill it out a little bit more. But I'm not gonna mess with that just yet. I think I'm just gonna try to focus on the music for Let's Make Some Noise, and then stuff for the next album, which is like gotta start working on eventually. And other projects for other people, doing some arrangements for Joe Fiedler, which has been awesome.
Nice.
Some big band stuff, and then another great trombone player named Angel Subero. We've been working on music for him. I don't know if I think it's the Trombone Player Network, but all this with Bonilla as well. Like these trombone players come to me to arrange music. So someday a saxophone player will come to me, a trumpet player. We'll see.
Yeah, but I mean the trombone thing makes sense because they know that like what they're dealing with, and so there's probably a comfortability factor in what you're providing. And so I mean I think that's great, man. Like you got to lay into what's before you, man.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm thrilled to do it. I mean, any chance to work with other people's music is yeah, it's always a learning experience, and like you get to really appreciate all the like what they've put into it, and then to try to potentially add a little bit more to it and make it a little bigger, a little grander, maybe develop some of the material a little bit more if they're cool with it. I'm just trying to take it to another level is so much fun. That's been and then to get their feedback is always like a joy. When someone's like, oh my god, I can't believe you like that song's like it's a totally different tune now and I love it. Like that's the best thing I could possibly imagine hearing.
Right. Before I let you go, for listeners in New York, is the week at Terrassa, is it like always the second week, or does it vary?
No, it's all over the place.
Okay.
The next one is the next one is July 28th, and then the following one is August 11th, and then September 22nd. And so I've been working with Freddie, and we're sort of like trying to put together some flyers for it, because there's 3 bands. So it's Terraza, the Terraza 7 big band, Manuel Valera, and then my group. And so since it's not a regular schedule, we're trying to like put it up so it's like everyone's clear like which Monday is who, and hopefully it will settle into a regular one. I think the summertime's hard. Everyone's in and out of town. So I think maybe when the fall rolls around, we'll get into like a regular, like this person's the second Monday or whatnot. But I've got a chance to play with Manuel's band a bunch too, which has been fun. And I've, played with Tada's big band many times too. So hopefully we get to play together again too. I'd love to have you play with my band if you're available, man.
Yeah, I'd love to, man.
Great.
That sounds like a challenge. Have to start reading music again. But yeah. So anyhow, John, great catching up with you, man. And the record is Points in Time, and comes out July 11th. And so people, check it out.
Thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate it very much, and take care.
Liner Notes is grateful for the support of Van Doren Reeds and Mouthpieces. Be sure and check out the Van Doren Advisory Studio in New York City for all your sound sculpting needs. Liner Notes is grateful for the support of Arlen's Good Beer in Bowling Green, Ohio. Engineered by Marco Mendoza. Visit his website at engineeredbymarco.com. The theme music is Hide, Seek, Find from my record Beatitude, out on Tiger Turn. Produced by David Bixler. Be sure and subscribe to Liner Notes wherever you find your podcasts. If you like what you hear, I ask that you consider supporting Liner Notes financially. You can do this by going to the Liner Notes tab at davidbixler.com. Thank you for your consideration.